What is going on, everybody? Welcome back here to the channel. I'm Sean Davis. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button as hard as you possibly can and subscribe here to the channel as well. So I went ahead today on Sean_DAVI and I posted a mailbag segment, and I'm going to sit here and give you guys my thoughts on some of the top questions you guys have. So if you want to participate in the next mailbag, which I do these once a week, make sure you guys are following me on Twitter at Sean_DAVI. Let's start off with the first question today, my buddy Richard Staple. Make sure you guys go follow him actually on Twitter. His handle is at Rich Staples on Twitter. He asks, what do you think of the Lakers' wing defense, and if there are any tangible ways to circumvent our weaknesses there? Also, the matter of whether or not Smart or Ruby should start next to the big three and Ayton. There's one other question similar to this, as it regards to Marcus Smart starting. So, Huge Vibe says, what do you think the likelihood is that Redick ends up starting Ruby again, despite everyone else wanting Smart to start? I'm just gonna say this. This is kind of always how my stance has been on Rui Hachimura, who I do want to start off here and be a little more positive on Rui and say that this is easily the most positive or optimistic I've been about Rui Hachimura as a Laker since probably the Western Conference Finals season. Like every year since then, I feel like I've entered into the subsequent season and been way lower on Rui and what he is as a player, based off how he performed in the playoffs. I did not like the idea of bringing Rui back heading into this season. I thought I was kind of done with the Rui experiment, to be quite frank. Entering this season following the disaster that was last playoff run against Denver, and even how last season went in general, I was just kind of over. I was over the Rui Hachimura experience. And then similarly, I would probably lean the same way coming out of, so it would have just been last year. Or 2 seasons ago. And then you have this season where, again, easily the most positive I've been about Rui Hachimura entering the next season. So I do want to start there and give Rui his credit. One of my biggest criticisms of Rui Hachimura as a player is that for a guy that his role is to catch and shoot spot up threes, not nearly as much of a volume three-point shooter as he should be. And I thought we saw a massive switch in that from Rui Hachimura about midseason, basically when they acquired Luka Doncic, because the team kind of made an offensive shift where, a lot more spread, pick and roll, a lot more, perimeter isolation, driving kick kind of stuff. And Rui was kind of forced to, hey, look, dog, you got to shoot more threes. And basically for the rest of the season, Rui became a 5 to 6 plus 3-point attempt guy per game, which is something that I always felt that this was going to be Rui's role. Yeah, he's got to shoot the ball more. Now, to prevent myself from going on even further of a ramble here, I do think that Rui is going to start day one. That is the one that there is one thing that this Lakers, higher ups, whether it's JJ or Genie or Rob or whoever, they love themselves some Rui Hachimura for one reason or another. They really, really do love Rui Hachimura. I think, and I honestly agree with a lot of the people, a lot of other smart Laker minds that are agreeing with the fact that Rui probably shouldn't be starting. I just think you have too many guys defensively playing the same position, and that's kind of the problem right now that I kind of run into with this Lakers team is in the regular season and hell, probably in the playoffs too. Bron, Rui, Luka are all playing similar positions. I get it, Luka's got himself in shape, so maybe you can, find a little bit more utility for him defensively, but like, bro, they all play the same position defensively. They are all helpers away from the ball. They're probably guarding fours, especially last season. So I do absolutely agree with the fact that why are we starting Rui? I think it makes more sense, regardless of the matchup, to start Marcus Smart next to the big three and Ayton, like the rest of the comments said and like Richard said. What do I think about the wing defense in general? I think, honestly, you kind of kill a lot of your wing weaknesses by starting Marcus Smart next to the big three. I think Marcus Smart, and I'm going to piggyback off on my buddy Tim, Cran's Big Basketball, follow him on Twitter at Tim_NBA, said, when talking about, okay, if you're facing a team that's your best players to guard. You can trust Marcus Smart to handle that POA assignment. You have Austin as a chaser, Braun and Luka as your helpers, and you go from there. But Marcus Smart, honestly, at least from a national media standpoint, I don't think it's enough credit for his positional versatility defensively, where Marcus Smart can very comfortably guard up in that scenario as well. And that's where Austin kind of slots in as your POA guy against the secondary option that's a guard in this scenario. I think a good example of a team like this would honestly be like the Celtics if you're facing them and it's Jalen Brown. Okay, Marcus Smart's your Jalen Brown guy. And then Austin's probably checking Simons or Derek White. And then you go from there. So I do think I'm in agreement that I think it makes just more sense structurally with how the roster is currently shaping up to just start Marcus Smart and bring Rui off the bench and let Rui kind of cook in an off the bench role. I mean, that's just where my head is at as of right now. So appreciate the couple of questions. I wanted to loop in those two questions because they were very similar. Messiah asked on Twitter, why don't they go all in for a third star? Because I think they view Austin Reaves as the third star. If we're being completely honest, I think they view Austin Reaves as the third star. And there's some arguments for and against that belief. I think the biggest argument is for Austin Reaves already kind of being that third star is one. I think there's a couple of things you could point to. Number one, Austin Reaves very clearly post D'Angelo Russell trade. Austin Reaves, they kind of shifted and gave him a massive workload offensively. And all he did was say, okay, and was perfectly fine. Then the month of December, he averaged 22, 6, and 8, shooting 47% from the floor and 38% from three, getting around 6 free throw attempts per game. A slight dip in the month of January, but then you get to February and the rest of the season, and as a matter of fact, instead of doing that, just look at the post-All-Star break numbers for Austin Reaves. He averaged 22, 5, and 5, shooting 48% from the field and almost 41% from three. So from the Lakers standpoint, that's the third star right there. You don't like the third star from the Lakers because you still view Bron as one of the core pieces, obviously. That's third star numbers for Austin Reaves. I think metrically as well. All the analytics and the data points to Austin Reaves being a really significantly good offensive player last season. I think the biggest jump from Austin Reaves as a player last season, and again, this is specifically kind of post D'Angelo Russell trade, I think AR just legitimately made a pretty significant playmaking leap. Where in years past, and I think this also, before I continue on with my point, I think this is especially important if we're talking about guys that are going to play next to Luka Doncic. I think having one of your core guys, or honestly having multiple of your core guys, being able to legitimately create for themselves and for others is so vital for this team. So if you look at Austin Reaves, and I'm really quickly trying to look at B-Ball Index while I'm bringing this up. But talking about Austin Reaves' performance last season, again, I think he took a gigantic leap as a playmaker. Austin Reaves this season, amongst players that played at least 751 minutes this season, Austin Reaves was the 19th best playmaker. The 18th best playmaker if you're looking simply in terms of B-Ball Index's playmaking talent metric, which I do think is a decently supportive metric and analytic that talks about the value of an individual's playmaking. So you're talking about the 18th best playmaker this season. If you're going back to last season, Austin Reaves was the 61st best playmaker. If you're simply going off of B-Ball Index's playmaking talent metric, if you will. So that is analytics are analytics or whatever. But I do think that the film and the performance that we saw from Austin Reaves, particularly in the regular season, does back up the fact that Austin legitimately made a huge leap as a playmaker this season. And at least in a regular season, the data supports Austin Reaves being a top 20 regular season playmaker this season. So I think the Lakers view AR as their third star already. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why that it's a no-brainer that when Austin Reaves is eligible for that bigger extension, which would be next summer once he opts out and takes the deal, then that's why it's a no-brainer. And all the rumors around like, oh, he's going to be making $30 million. I'm like, duh? Question mark? Like, Austin Reaves is going to get paid next summer, partially because the Lakers already view him as the secondary star next to Luka. I think the one thing about Austin Reaves, if you want to poke at him being the third star, and before I even make this argument, there is even a counter argument to the argument I'm about to make, so bear with me here for a second, is that this is now a consecutive playoff run where, one, the jump shot kind of just disappears from distance. Now you had, at this point, I mean, I think Austin is a great shooter. I do want to give him that, a really good shooter. There's some elements of that conference finals run that's just, at the end of the day, kind of fluky. He shot 44% from three in that conference finals run season in the playoffs. And that season in general, he was a lights-out three-point shooter, shot 36.5% from three last season, the year they lost to Denver in the first round. And in that playoff series, he shot 26.9% from three, and wasn't all that efficient. And then this year, back-to-back years where he shoots 31.9% from three. Now, the one point of like, that's kind of unfair is now known, obviously, after the fact that Austin Reaves was dealing with a pretty significant toe injury, something of the likes that we saw what it looked like for Darius Garland trying to fight through that. And first off, how much time Darius Garland missed, and then even when he did come back from that injury, what he looks like, and clearly how bothered he was when he did come back. So I do want to give Austin some benefit of the doubt there, because very clearly was hampered by that injury. Let's see what else we have here. We'll go a few more. So Mario says, will Vando be healthy, and whether or not he'll be effective with his offensive limitations? Will Jared Vanderbilt be healthy? That is obviously the gazillion-dollar question if you're a Vando fan. This is kind of the flip for me. I'm a little bit lower on Vando compared to years past. I don't think he was as impactful as we've seen in years past from Vando. I think he's had moments. I think part of it is, honestly, I'm not quite sure JJ knows how to use Vando. And we'll see if there's some growth there from Vando and the staff going forward. But I mean, this is not back-to-back seasons since getting that contract, where Vando played in 29 games last season and played in 36 games this season, the regular season, and was available for the entire playoffs this year, missed the entire playoffs last year. So that's the $1 million question. And the problem with Vando is he's actually a fine short roll guy in terms of his playmaking and some of the handling stuff, but just an egregiously bad finisher and an awful three-point shooter. So, I mean, honestly, just give me the finishing at the very least, and we can maybe work something out. But that is obviously the biggest question mark there with with Vando. Eric, do you expect our French rotation players, Maxey, Koloko, Dalton, maybe Bronny, to make a difference? I honestly hope that they go into the season and are not just giving Gabe Vincent this secondary POA bench minutes. I think in the year of our Lord 2025, I don't think it's an insane thing to say that Bronny can actually challenge Gabe Vincent. Like, I think Gabe is a perfectly serviceable secondary playmaker and a perfectly serviceable defensive player. But Minnesota just went at him, and his shot is at this point just broken. Shot 35% from three in the regulars. He's very clearly a streaky three-point shooter, and that's at best. Shot 30.8% from three in the playoffs this year, 14% last year. It's very clear that 2022-23 season from Gabe, specifically that playoff run where Miami couldn't miss until the finals, very clearly that was just a pretty fluky run. And even that season, Gabe shot 33% from three. Realistically, Gabe's best year was probably 2022, where he shot 37% from three if you round up. And then that same playoff run wasn't as efficient from three, but I think that's still arguably Gabe's best season. So that is one thing I am kind of curious to see, is that they enter this season and how much of a legitimate shot do the Lakers and JJ give Bronny to maybe steal some of those Gabe Vincent minutes. I don't know how early in the season we'll see that, But I do think that is a fair question to ask. As it goes to Maxey or Koloko, I doubt it, honestly. If I'm being completely honest with you, I think the Lakers center rotation is going to go Aiden, Jackson Hayes, and then their small ball group with Vando at the 5, Braun at the 5, Rui at the 5, whichever combination they want to go with. I don't really expect to see much of Maxey or Koloko. The only one I would maybe see some of would be Maxey, only because you're paying him a lot of money to just do absolutely nothing. So I think they're at the very least going to give Maxey some semblance of a chance to just prove that, okay, look, you're not an NBA player anymore. And then Dalton, I still am of the belief they should just trade him. I don't think JJ and crew are all that high on Dalton anymore. Let's see, Mike. With the offseason acquisition of starting center DeAndre Ayton and the Lakers re-signing Jackson Hayes, how often do you see JJ utilizing small ball lineups of Rui or LeBron at the 5 this season, assuming the team is relatively healthy? I think it'll be in limited spots. And in the regular season, I think it'll be Rui at the 5, not necessarily Braun. Best lineup from TwizMS on Twitter. Best lineup, I think it's Luka. I think it's honestly the big three, Aiden and Smart. Check ball. Give me that group. We'll go one more. We will go one more. Mario asks, what's the ideal encore dynamic between Luka, LeBron, and Austin? How do you maximize strengths and minimize weaknesses? So Luka, head of the snake. High dosage of spread, pick and roll, isolation creation. I think Austin honestly fits in like a glove in the Kyrie role. Not saying he's Kyrie Irving, but playing one pass away, being the spot up catch and shoot threat. That's why you cannot have a regression to the mean for Austin. He goes back to being 2023 Austin Reaves, where he can't hit a catch and shoot three. You need Austin Reaves from this season from the 3-point line to be the same Austin Reaves, where he's shooting high volume threes. He's also making a high percentage of said threes. In the regular season, Austin Reaves was lights out if you left him open on catch-shoot threes. Shot 47.8% on catch-shoot threes that were unguarded per Synergy. Shot 40% overall. And then obviously in the playoffs, did not have a great playoff run shooting. Did shoot over 38.9% if you left him open on catch-shoot threes. Really was the pull-up three-point game from Austin. It kind of took a big step back compared to 2023 and 2022. So I think and letting Austin be that second side creator, if he's playing at that opposite slot and his man wants to plug the gap and help off on a Luka drive, bang, Austin's attacking with the tilted defense or being able to make a quick decision on whether it's a catch and shoot three, drive and attack, et cetera, et cetera. So I think Austin and Luka's fit is actually pretty simple. I also, to a certain extent, think Braun and Luka's fit or Braun and Reaves' fit is kind of pretty simple. It's Braun being that mid-post nail isolation or post-up guy that's working as a screen setter and a hard roller. I can envision now some good action where it's Braun as a screener. You hit him in the short roll. DeAndre is kind of roaming underneath in the dunker area, and it's Austin relocating. I think when Luka and LeBron are on the floor, I'm utilizing LeBron a lot as a cutter, as a spot-up just threat. He's legitimately like hit the second half of his career. He's been just a lights out 3-point shooter. 2022/23, just a clear fluke that he was a bad shooter that season, very clearly hampered by that foot injury. And then when you get to LeBron centric lineups where it's Braun +5 or Braun plus Austin even maybe, then you can get some more, if you want to, Braun pick and roll or Braun post up. I'm very clearly utilizing LeBron as a screener, as a cutter, and as a spot up threat when they're all three together. I think that's the way that makes the most sense. And probably even more as a cutter or as a spot up guy if it's Aiden on the floor as well. So that's what I got, guys. Quick AMA section. Let me know what you all think in the comment section down below. As always, leave a like and subscribe here to the channel for more great Lakers content and coverage. Till next, everybody. See ya, stay safe, and as always, go Lake Show.